Welcome, welcome, guys.
Hi.
We have some people starting to come on. Ashley, Jessica, Lauren, Lupita, Maritza, Wendy, welcome. We're just going to wait about a minute to get everybody in. It's starting to pop up. Attendees, you guys are in for a treat. This is going to be an awesome webinar. We're just going to give it about 30 more seconds. The attendee number is rising and rising, so I just want to be sure that everybody has a chance to see this from the start. So give us 1 minute. Awesome. All right, I see the numbers slowly starting to stay still. So for those of you that are just now hopping in, we are just starting, so you guys are set. And my name is Ariel Rafua. I definitely want to welcome you guys to day 2 of Marketplace TRA Online. We're super excited to be able to do this online this year, and thank you guys all for joining. Today's session is called PR Secrets from the Pros, and all the pros are, or I guess this side, this is all flip-flop, but they're all around here on the screen. And throughout this webinar, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop a question on the Q&A button down below. So if anyone has a question throughout, just feel free to type it in. If it's not already answered, then we will get to it at the very end. And without further delay, I'd like to officially welcome you to the Silicon Hills stage. And this virtual stage is sponsored by Coca-Cola. And I actually went and got everybody, or for myself, I wish I could give to everybody right now this Coca-Cola energy drink. But I'm going to go ahead and pop this open because they have an awesome video and they are a big sponsor for the stage. So I would like to go ahead and play the video for you guys. Thank you, Coca-Cola.
We may be one of the world's most familiar companies, but we make more than our name suggests. We're an organic tea company, a premium juice company, a coconut water company. We've got drinks for long days, for birthdays, for turning over new leaves. And we make them for every moment in every corner of the country. We are the Coca-Cola Company, and we're proud to offer so much more.
And they offer so much more. This energy drink is fantastic. Go check it out at your local place. But I'd like to go ahead and introduce you guys Victoria Villarreal, who is a freelance publicist and a PR specialist, and she'll be introducing the panel. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thanks so much, Ariel. I appreciate it. And thanks to everyone that's joining, certainly more than I anticipated, which is exciting. My name is Victoria, as Ariel said. I am recently a freelance publicist focused on the food and beverage industry. So prior to this, I was an account director for Bread and Butter, which is a national communications agency. I served as the account director there. So my role as account director was focused on overseeing our food and beverage teams, working with restaurants from independents to fast casuals, as well as chains across the country, as well as the CPG space, beer, wine, and spirits. So my main focus was really making sure our team strategies were executed, and kind of once the coronavirus hit, I think the first step for us in Austin was seeing South by get canceled, and it was kind of all hands on deck with how to kind of navigate a path forward. So have certainly experienced how to kind of move forward within this current landscape, and I'm excited for you all to be here today because I have 3 PR pros who have certainly dealt with this alongside their own clients. Today, we're going to be talking about just different tactics that you guys can implement within your own operations, how to move forward, how to kind of make sure that your message is getting clearly stated to the media as well as your consumers. As Ariel mentioned, we're going to be doing a Q&A throughout the panel, so feel free to ask a question and we'll try to get to those as we can. So before we kind of get started, I would love for everybody to introduce themselves and share a little bit more about their background. So we'll start with Shivna.
Yeah, hi everyone. Excited to be here. I'm Shivna. I'm the director of the Dallas office of Bread and Butter PR. I worked with Victoria for a long time. For those of you who don't know about us, we are a full service PR and social media and design agency. for restaurants, hotels. We work with spirit brands, CPGs, kind of across the board. Our agency has been around for about 13 years, and we have offices all over the country, but here in Texas, we've got one in Dallas, as well as Austin, and we service Houston out of both those offices as well. So I personally have been with them about 4 years, and like I said, mostly working on hotels and restaurants. I personally just have a really strong passion for hospitality and what it represents. You know, I love what it does for people on a personal level, and also just, you know, what it does for a city. I pretty much convinced my husband to move to Dallas by shoving Tex-Mex down his throat. So, you know, just really love kind of, you know, what it does overall for a place. And yeah, just really happy to be here and happy to answer all y'all's questions today.
Great. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Austin. I am the CEO and owner of Hometown Social. I started my company in November 2013, and we've experienced just slow organic growth. We work with about 30 restaurants in the greater Houston area, and we provide kind of an integration of services. So we do PR, social media, graphics, websites, kind of everything under the sun. We're kind of a one-stop shop, and we also work in retail and music.
Awesome. Courtney?
I am Courtney Knittel. I'm Executive Vice President of Giant Noise. I'm here in the Austin office right now, back in the office for the first time in a long time, so it feels good. But we have offices also in San Antonio and Dallas. Giant Noise was started by COO and President Elaine Garza in 2006, so we're 14 years. You know, we started as a smaller team in Austin and kind of have built and grown. I've been with the company for 9 years now. We are a lifestyle agency, entertainment. I think we don't ever want to just do one thing. So, but with a great focus on restaurants and hospitality and all of that, that's been really exciting for us to be a part of. I personally like to be a part of it. I think to Shivna's point, it is exciting to kind of see the city and grow and change. And I've witnessed that in Austin now. When I moved here, it was like a you know, live music capital of the world, which it still is, but it's now become a foodie destination. And that's been super exciting and fun to be a part of and to watch and to kind of see that national attention and highlight on Austin and San Antonio. And as we're expanding to Dallas, to kind of be a part of that, super exciting. And I'm happy to be here with you all today. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have all of you this afternoon. So we'll kind of go through the way that this panel is going to run. We're going to go through a few questions, and then hopefully we have time as well to answer any questions that you guys have. But before we kind of get into a more granular questions, I want to start by asking each person, we'll start with you, Shivna, just kind of tell us about what role PR has played within your restaurant clients.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, just to be totally honest, it's been totally different. And kind of crazy to see. You know, I've been in PR for 15 years and never have I experienced anything like this. So, you know, while it's been really different, at the same time, there's a lot of sort of principles that have remained the same of just, you know, having clarity and consistency in all of your communications and just making sure that, you know, you say what you mean and you mean what you say. But also that whatever you are putting out there is easy for the consumer to digest and for the media to understand and to write about. So, you know, I think it's been crazy because we've used PR to launch pop-up concepts. You know, sometimes these things come up overnight. A chef will have an idea and, you know, the next thing you know, it's on paper and it's out on a press release. So it's been obviously very useful in that way. But also, you know, I think it's been a really raw time for a lot of people. And we've had to, you know, edit letters of proprietors that are closing, just a lot of different things that we didn't necessarily do on the regular before. And we've also helped a lot with social media. A lot of people, I think, maybe didn't use social media or take it very seriously before. And I think they've realized kind of the value of it and the ability to keep their consumers appraised of, you know, quick changes and things like that. So, you know, even with influencer marketing, we've been able to start influencer marketing programs for a lot of our clients, which is something that maybe they didn't do before. So just really getting to do new things, but of course, keeping kind of the basic principles and, you know, understandings.
Great. Courtney?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting time and challenging. I think we all work probably very closely with our clients and kind of to see, everything kind of shift and change so rapidly has been a challenge. I think for us, in the beginning, my first steps are always kind of internal communications. What's going on? How do we build? How do we tell the team that everyone's on the same page with safety, masks, all of those types of things. So I think step one has been internal, which maybe we haven't been as much a part of before, considering that, we are here for a lot of times for launches or just general PR for restaurants and things like that. So it's a lot of internal communications that and plans and crisis plans. Should someone test positive for COVID, what does that look like? And making sure that kind of you go into the day knowing what's going on. And then external communications is not only sharing what COVID protocols are, but also we have to pivot and change a lot. Is it to go curbside? Is it special menu pop-ups? I think that's the thing, something that's been real. I think we're all home and you think things are going to slow down a bit, but it hasn't slowed down for us at all either. We're working with our teams to kind of do something new all the time, because there's not the flexibility of people coming in. There's not the same butts as seats. That's not what's happening right now. So how do we kind of maintain business, keep everything going, and keep the media informed, but moving at really fast pace?
Yeah, absolutely. Rachel, do you have anything to add there?
I would say that, at the beginning, it was definitely, it was a shock for everybody. You wake up one day and all of a sudden restaurants are closed. And I think we were all pivoting. All the ladies on this line work with multiple clients, and I think we're all kind of trying to keep up, with the to-go cocktails and the curbside, and then dining rooms open back up, but it's at 25%. And so we're kind of in this defense instead of offense mode at the very beginning. But now I feel like we've kind of moved into this place where a lot of my clients are taking this opportunity to focus on brand identity, which is so important right now, because who you are to a community during a pandemic is who you are after, and it's going to determine how your customers relate to you and the amount of safety and comfort they feel frequenting your business even after COVID is over.
Yeah, I love that. I think you all kind of added great perspectives, and I love all of those. So I think the main thing that we've heard from TRA, which I know is kind of a hot button topic right now, and why we're all here this afternoon, is to talk about, various aspects of COVID-19 and how to kind of navigate those. So Courtney kind of touched on this, but we wanted to start today just by kind of hitting the top question first thing about, what happens when your team member tests positive for coronavirus, and kind of how do you navigate that path forward to make sure that your teams are prepared and that your message is concisely getting shared with the masses, your consumers, and media. So we're going to start with Shivna to talk about internal processes and top priorities that she feels and that Bread and Butter has been utilizing to make sure that their teams are prepared. And then Rachel's going to kind of talk about that external conversation to make sure that that message, once it's clearly articulated, gets sent to your consumers.
Yeah, I think internally, I sound very repetitive here, but I think going back to, again, just really making sure clear and consistent and, very conscious of what you're saying. I think letting people know what is expected of them internally is the number one most important thing. The verbiage that you use, on your website or, in the restaurant should be the same verbiage you use internally to make sure that people know that, you, again, mean what you say. I can't stress how important to you, word does get out if someone is sick and you ask them to work. So, it really is important to let them go home. We've had a couple of instances where, they've thought, oh, well, you're feeling okay, and inevitably everyone finds out, or it gets posted to social media, or, someone Snapchats it or something. It's just really hard to keep a secret in today's world. So, really letting people go home if they don't feel well. And investing in changes, if you can keep people 6 feet apart, I understand, that's not doable for everyone all the time. But, those are the recommendations, and really trying to stick to them, and really, being honest about, what you can and can't do. Constant communication is great, letting employees know and keeping them appraised regularly of any updates. And again, just honesty is the best policy in that case. I think a lot of the stigma, generally has died down around being sick or getting COVID-19. So, it has gotten better. I think it's become a little easier to communicate when someone is sick. But, I think overall, again, it's just making sure you're always clear, you're always consistent, and have a plan. It doesn't, you don't have to have a PR firm to have a plan. You just need to make sure that, you've talked to your senior leadership and made a decision on what things are going to look like if, there is an outbreak or something like that within your doors.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head that, especially in Texas, we're just seeing cases rise and rise and rise. And so now it's more of a conversation of when versus if. So having that internal plan is certainly helpful to make sure that your team is prepared. So when it does happen, you're not kind of scrambling. So Rachel, talk to us a little bit about how you've helped your clients kind of navigate external communications.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to tack on a couple of things. So in order to get a plan in place, I think that there are, for the back end and the front end, whenever you experience, because if you have not experienced it yet, unfortunately, it's likely that you will. So I think one of the most important things getting a plan in place is to recognize all the different facets of who you need to make good decisions, who you need to put a plan in place. So if you have an attorney on retainer, I would consult them. Your human resources director, if you don't have a human resources director, there are companies that you can outsource. And the purpose of that would be, if somebody has to be quarantined, am I obligated to pay their, wages during that time? There are kind of all those questions that come up with internal dealings. And then I would say health and sanitation, get your health and sanitation plan on paper. Don't wait, just go ahead and get it taken care of before you get yourself into a situation so you don't get caught, playing defense instead of offense. So, and then PR and communication, just like Shivna was saying, is very important. I would say that what she said about honesty being the best policy, it is. And I, have struggled over the past few months because I have seen restaurants just take the heat from publications, and it's been very difficult to watch, especially knowing some of the great lengths my customers have gone to keep their employees and customers safe. I mean, the partitions and the distancing and the masking, sometimes double masking. I mean, there are so many things that that they are doing on the back end to make sure community spread is not happening in restaurants. And so I would say when you have a plan, get it on paper, put it on your website. I am actually not suggesting that any of my customers send out releases if they have a positive case, just because it is more the norm. And the last thing I would want is for them to, become under fire for, handling something the right way. So what I'm suggesting to all of my clients is, consult with your professionals, your HR, your PR, your attorney, your health and sanitation coordinator, or somebody in that field. Get a plan in place and put it on your website. And so instead of having to say, oh, well, we had somebody test positive, do we need to send this out? It's on your website, clear, crisp, concise. This is what we are going to do. These are all of the measures that we are taking when we have somebody who tests positive for COVID, and we're doing all of these things in order to keep you safe. Bullet points, easily digestible.
Yeah. Courtney, I know that you guys have worked with various restaurants and have helped to kind of draft social media statements. So any thoughts there on maybe
to all of those points, I agree. I think in the beginning, we were sending out a press release to announce people because it was kind of in the beginning and of all of that. I do think that it's important that any messaging that you have on the website that you share on social media, if you're going to be closed for the day, you don't maybe need a press release, but make sure your statement's done and dialed beforehand. Everything that's on the website emulates what you're saying on social so that you let the community know what's going on. I don't think that there's any kind of in the beginning it was like, oh, you know, if someone tests positive, it's kind of was scarier. But I think now we're seeing that there's not, it's best to be honest and to kind of go forth with that. So I agree with all of the points today, but I think sharing on social media at the same time is super valuable.
Yeah, and I've actually seen, you know, just following in the comments, I think everybody knows that this is kind of inevitable. So people are empathizing with various restaurants, and, you know, like you guys said, honesty is best policy. So it seemed to be positively perceived whenever you are being honest. So now that that's kind of out of the way, I know that, you know, before restaurants hosted various events and pop-ups, as Shivna mentioned, as a way to kind of generate additional revenue and showcase new menu items, which was super fun for us. And honestly, I regret taking for granted all of the events that we got to participate in before, you know, the current times. But right now, a lot of restaurants are focused on kind of shifting gears. How do they kind of execute those events in a really hospitable way, but through virtual, you know, channels? So Courtney, I would love to, you know, talk to you and maybe share a little bit more about a client of yours that's maybe executed a virtual or socially distanced event, and then kind of what was PR's role in executing that?
Sure. I mean, I think the thing that's different too is everything's shifting all the time. Like in the beginning, we had a restaurant launch that we decided to hold virtually. So we were able to kind of get media, all the same food preparations. And together we did like a media happy hour with cocktails and everyone was making food. And it was kind of, this was in April, so it was kind of still early enough and people had not seen each other, and I think that was successful then. I don't know how that would work now. I think people are kind of feeling zoomed and things out. I think it's important. I think video is very, very important though. I think if that's something that you can work on, even if you share it on social media, things like that, show media visually what you're doing and what you're doing every day. I think, you know, we've had some great Zoom events and fun media, but part of me also thinks people are starting to get zoomed out. And so I think that's something to kind of keep in mind. Maybe it will come back in the fall and people just needed a summer break. But, you know, I think if you can kind of curate a really fun group together and, you know, set up like a happy hour with media, if it's a tasting, something like that is fun. But I think you need to make sure the group is really together and aligned. But if not, I think it's, you know, great to set up kind of videos that you have. I've had people do YouTube channels where you can kind of get your kids to go to watch at your own time. I've had clients do a lot of just, you know, pop-up videos that are on, you know, on Instagram and things like that have been successful. I think it's just about connecting with your community. And again, everything's shifting daily, but I think that it's just, you got to keep the connections going.
Yeah, so when you are, your client is executing that, what is PR's role played? Are you guys sending out releases or alerts or social media? How are you kind of getting
We're sending out, I mean, we set it all up. So I think what we do is we're sending out a press release on, what we did was send out a press release on the opening of the restaurant that was going to be virtual opening, that was not brick and mortar, that was going to be just, you know, pivoting during this time. We coordinated all of the media. We did 2 media tastings that we kind of booked 6 to 7 people each, because you don't want it to be too many people. And we did it 2 different nights and make sure the food was delivered, cocktails delivered. Everyone had the Zoom link and was all on there. And the chef worked with us to kind of make sure to curate what the menu would look like. And then everyone feels like they're a part of it and they're cooking along and doing that. It was super fun, and it was, the media turnout was great. But I just, part of me wonders too if I think we could do it again, but I think you have to kind of space that out a little bit.
Yeah, it's really daunting. There's such a process on the front end, and we've had to become delivery
Yes.
drivers and tech focused people. So Rachel or Shivna, do you guys have any other things to add to that?
Yeah, so a couple of my restaurants have done, so one of my restaurants, so let me back up a little bit. I would say that wherever your restaurant resides, so if you are in an area with a lot of families, if you are in an area that, you know, a lot of millennials live, I would just make sure that when you are planning your virtual events or socially distanced events, that you take into account who you're serving. So who your customers are is going to dictate what events work for your business.
Right.
For example, I have one client who's doing a chef, it's like a 3-course date night cooking class, and there are 10 socially distanced tables. And so it takes about 2 hours to walk through, you know, each of the courses. And, but I mean, it's such a great break. for these parents who are at home with their kids all the time. It's such a great way to serve the community. I think they charge about $150 a couple, and they do it on like a Tuesday or, one of their slower nights. And so it's kind of an automatic revenue generator. And it takes very little, prep time, and, most of the execution is on the chef. So
yeah,
I
love that.
Cool.
Yeah.
We just had a question, Shivna, maybe if you want to talk to this. So thank you, Wen Wang, for your question. He's asking, with the current situation, how do you work with influencers? Are they playing a more important role right now or not?
I would say, yeah, a lot of them, I think kind of speaking in what Rachel was kind of referring to is, think about who your audience is, who is coming to your restaurant, and then look for influencers that, are similar to that. So for example, if you have, a great kids offering, and that there's an influencer out there that has twins or kids or, and they are willing to do, get delivery for the kids meal offering and do something with their children, think about that. So, there's a lot of opportunity. I think it's just, going out there and finding who, you think your audience really looks at and who they follow. But yeah, I would say they're absolutely more important. People are at home and they're just sitting there and they're just doing this. They're just doing this all day long. And the more you can get in front of them, the better. The more you can remind them that you have curbside or that you have delivery or you have this or that, the better. And the more times they see it on their feed, the better. So, if you are posting about your new chicken offering and an influencer is posting about your new chicken offering, hey, it's going to get someone excited to get delivery or pickup that night. So yeah, and it doesn't always just have to be a post. A lot of people charge for posts. So, see if you can, if you don't have a PR firm and you're doing this outreach yourself, see if you can negotiate for a story, or, just a couple of stories, and see if they're open to that, because, you'd be surprised as to what people are flexible and willing to do. And maybe someone before who charged, $1,000 for a post is willing to do it for, 200. So there's a lot of opportunity there. I think, see what you can make happen, because you would be amazed at how flexible people are being right now. So that would kind of be my advice.
Great. Yeah, I love that. And there are two questions about specifically related to COVID. So anybody feel free to respond to this. So how do you train your client or employees to be careful about the image or content they put on social media in the midst of COVID? Anyone want to take a stab?
I would say to, if you're operating in transparency, it probably shouldn't be a huge issue. However, I know of several clients who've come up with a social media agreement with their clients. It's not like a non-disclosure agreement. It's just, in good faith, we agree to respect each other online, so there's a lot of reputational damage that can happen from a disgruntled employee. And I think we've all, seen that at one point or the next. But usually when my restaurants are being transparent and open with their employees, we don't see a lot of kickback online.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Another question comes from Dawn. She says, I operate a meal delivery service. I have a statement on my website describing my COVID-19 protocols. Should I be including some of this in my social media push as well? None of my clients or followers have asked about it, and I'm assuming proactive rather than reactive is advocated here. I think we would all agree that that is best.
Yeah. And I think it changes too if you have someone that tests positive for it too. I think if you keep it on your website, yet share with the public and social media if someone tests positive, if it's some kind of, that you need to kind of address immediately. If it's already on the website, I wouldn't go ahead and just post it on your social media, unless it's like a call to action that yes, when an employee tested positive and this is what we're doing. I think having it on the website's fine, and then again sharing it if need be.
Great.
I've been actually sharing about, it just every once in a while, maybe like once every couple of weeks, I'll go and grab like a few photos of my chef or people in the restaurant masked up, and I'll post it and say, hey, just a reminder, this is what we're doing for you guys. And then, hashtag in Houston is Mask Up Hue. So, you know, using that hashtag, and I'm trying to pull in elements of compassion. So we're masking for you guys, you know, we're trying to protect our customers, our staff, our community. Ultimately, there's so much division about COVID for whatever reason. And so just making sure that you are, when you post about it, you're saying why you're posting about it. So, hey, we're posting about it to remind you guys that this is a safe place to eat. We've put up these new partitions.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I think visually it's super important to kind of show people that you're walking the walk and that, you know, that they feel confident, you know, they feel confident going into your place of business and supporting you because you're doing your part in staying safe. So I think that's super valuable.
Yeah, and I think every restaurant is kind of navigating it differently. So using that as a message point for people to go to your website and hear what it is you are doing is extremely helpful. And kind of on a similar vein, obviously as publicists, one of our biggest roles is kind of contacting media and making sure that media are aware of what our clients are offering, whether, you know, unfortunately if they're closing or if they've shifted to takeout only, or the various kind of things that they're doing to make sure that they're being safe. While also trying to obviously keep their doors open. So for anybody who might be on the panel that doesn't have PR, I would love for each of you to kind of share maybe one tip or tool for anyone without PR that they can implement to make sure that their message is being getting to consumers or media. So we can start with you, Rachel.
I would say, just like Shivna was talking about bloggers, you know, being more willing to work. I mean, my company is doing free consultations during COVID. I mean, if you have a question about something that you're going to send out, I know people think like PR is the last thing I'm going to, you know, pay for when I'm trying to keep my restaurant open. And, you know, that honestly, none of us are here today to try to get you guys as a client. We're here today because we want to serve this community. We love the hospitality community. And that extends to giving advice, helping draft statements every once in a while. I mean, we talked about it on a call the other day, all three of us. And I mean, if TRA wants to, you know, put our contact info out, we would be happy to help you guys walk through, you know, any issues that come up.
You know, I agree with all of that. And I think, yes, I think we're here to help. And I think all of us have kind of gotten many calls to kind of, we need your advice or pick your brain and all of that. And I think to me, that's super important, especially throughout Texas, is kind of, we need to build each other up right now so we can get on the other side and be successful and safe and all of those things. I think something to think about, this is just, you know, for me right now, Susan, I think as we're all kind of fatigued right now, and I know restaurant and hospitality is, so are media. So I think thinking about that too, a lot of them have had layoffs. A lot of them are now, you know, are going through, you know, they might have to like be furloughed for a week. They might be taking on different beats and things like that. So I think it's super important to kind of make sure that when you're building your media list, you understand who you're sending to, and not be like sending a million things, but kind of like, this is my maybe it's like, you know, for the month of August, this is what we're doing, or the next 2 weeks or something like that, but kind of be concise, share images when you're sharing your press release. There's more likely to be picked up if you put images in there as well, and kind of just understand that if you can think a little bit forward ahead, and that the media are just as fatigued as we all are too. And I think that's something that really kind of struck me, is like, we can't, I mean, we're sending them so many press releases, and it's hard for them to keep up because they've lost people on their team. So, and I also, you know, recommend when you send out a press release to share that, whatever your message is on social media. And if you have a newsletter base, to do that as well, include images, all of that too. I think that's the best way to kind of round out. You might not get picked up in everything, but at least people are aware. They'll keep it in mind for future stories. It's things to think about, but knowing that, you know, everyone right now is just kind of feeling strapped. And so I think is you can get your message concise, clear, with images out, and kind of a little bit of time ahead, you'll be better served.
Yeah, I think, Courtney, mine's kind of the same. I really think it's simplicity is key. Making the information as easy to digest as possible, whether that is on social media, whether it's a post, you know, saying if you have curbside pickup, use the hashtag curbside pickup. You know, that's your message. Hone in on your central point, and really make that point. And then also, get creative. We had a client that had like a dancer outside while he was doing curbside pickup, and so, if you're waiting out there for 3, 4, 5 minutes, maybe it wasn't as annoying because there's, someone performing on the sidewalk. So, really try to think about how you can get creative and maybe do something. This is a great time. I mean, you look at the 2008 financial crisis and you got, Venmo and WhatsApp and all these people got all these creative ideas. This is a great time to kind of think outside the box. And I think people will forgive you a little quicker for it if it's not, a perfect idea. But I think it's a good time to really think about what you can do and differently. Maybe there's a recipe you've always wanted to try, or maybe there's a new pop-up you've always wanted to do. I know it can be tough financially, but as far as from a PR perspective, this is a good time to try something new.
And I would say too, just to tack something on to the end, when somebody writes about you, post it on your social media and tag the publication. It's a simple virtual thank you, and it takes 2 minutes of your time, but it really does, encourage relationship. And, when they're taking the time to write or about your business or include you in, a roundup or something like that, a virtual thank you is appropriate.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pro thank you cards, thank you notes, thank you on social. It certainly goes a long way and is able to kind of extend that hospitality that normally would have been done within your four walls. So I love all of those tips. Kind of in a similar vein of what Shivna was talking about, we've seen, and love seeing all the camaraderie within the industry. TRA has obviously been a great resource for everyone, and I would recommend perusing the website. They have various guidelines on coronavirus and different things that they're kind of executing through legislation. So, but within our, restaurant community, we've seen pop-ups that have happened and executed across different types of cuisine. So I really want everyone to kind of share maybe one way that your client has drastically, to use the word of the moment, pivoted in this current time, whether it's, they've, like Courtney said, they were going to open a brick and mortar and then they changed to virtual, or, throughout all this time, what is an example of a way that they've drastically changed, and then how did PR assist in the process? So we'll start with you, Courtney.
Oh, wow. I mean, a lot. And so that's been exciting to be a part of and kind of to see what's going on. We have had clients shift to offering markets, which I think has been super successful. We work with Pearl in San Antonio and the farmers market and all of that. They shifted to market. I represent a restaurant group that's Emerin Rye, TLV, Hestia, Kalimoto, Henbit. And so they all did a market. I think these markets are great because not only can you order from to-go menu, but you're adding on things for the week, which I think makes less trips, less visits, all of that. Also visually, it's super appealing to kind of see this beautiful market. We just did an announcement with TLV for their market this week, which is all kind of Israeli staples. And it's really been, I think it's just kind of moving with that too. Also shipping nationwide. I think if you have a menu or two menu items that are kind of really stand out and you're able to do that, it kind of helps with that because you get to that national level. I think, national media is looking to kind of to see what we're all up to here with, if anyone, people are doing things interesting, what's going on. I think Texas has become a spotlight in the media across the country. And so I think if you have offerings that kind of go to that, you can kind of ship nationwide. I've seen a couple clients do that. It's been really, exciting to be a part of. But I love the markets. I love kind of making it easy to go. I think you can kind of making sure you switch to your online servers. That's super easy. I've seen I think a lot of people have moved to Toast and all of that just really quickly so that you can kind of get all your offerings up there and to do that.
Are you seeing that? I love the idea of shipping nationally, like non-perishable items. Is that through Goldbelly, or how are your restaurant clients using it?
A lot of them are doing it themselves. So they have that. One of my clients was just named Food and Wine's best new chef, Tavel Bristol Joseph Pastry. And that's exciting, but during this time was hard. And so one of his, staple items is a monster cookie. So now everyone can we did this to coincide with the announcement of that, because now nationwide, you can get these monster cookies, send them to your friends, and to do that, they become like a media favorite. So and they're handling all the shipping, everything on their own. I think it takes a little bit of time and you have to kind of step back a little bit, but it works. And I think for us, it was being able to kind of spread the news nationally as well as locally.
Great. Yeah, I love that. Rachel, do you have anything to add, or any ways that your clients have kind of shifted?
Yeah. So just to back up what Courtney was saying, yes, e-commerce and wholesale are huge right now. There have even been a lot of restaurants that have actually done prepared meals for local grocery stores. One of the biggest trends that I'm seeing right now is the ghost kitchen.
Mhm.
And I'm sure all of you guys are familiar, everybody listening is familiar with what a ghost kitchen is, but it allows you to, increase your capacity for delivery and takeout services. And so that's been a very interesting trend. I would say also that utilizing, there are, like, just to mimic what Courtney had said, there are a lot of point of sale systems that are now offering a third-party delivery integration. Mm-hmm. So I think Toast, for example, has a partnership with Uber Eats. So if people were to make sure, above all else, and this has nothing to do with PR, get your online ordering up, please. Mm-hmm. I am begging you. It's really going to make a difference in your bottom line. So basically the person would go to your website and order for delivery. And so it's kind of white labeled. And then I know that a lot of you probably have a distaste for, DoorDash and Uber Eats just because of your margins, but they actually have agreements with a lot of the point of sale providers that are going to allow you to have that partnership and get your margins back. So just look into it.
Shivna, do you have anything to add?
I mean, I think the point of sale thing is really important. Yeah, I think a lot of people share that frustration of Uber Eats and all that good stuff. But if you make it easier to order from your website, people will do curbside pickup. So invest in that. Really, if that's something that you want, then I think that make that a priority, is really making your website easy to understand and easy to order from. Again, simplicity is key.
Yeah. And I think too, I think just to add on to the end of that is, like, you can kind of, we had a client who was able to kind of show how easy it was to order online and what it looked like through video and on social media. I think incorporate that into your messaging, because the easier you make it, the more people will spend and keep coming back. Because I think that people do want to support the community. They want to support the businesses they love, even if they haven't been, maybe they didn't dine with you before, but they see what you're doing and they see how active you are now, they'll be more willing to support. And I think once you have a customer and they love what you do, they'll continue to support you. And I do think that people want to support each other right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I hope that everyone watching kind of learned a couple of things, maybe some tools or thought starters to take with you moving forward. I think overall we're all advocating for the restaurant industry and want to see everyone kind of come out on the other side. If you guys have any additional questions, feel free to share that with the TRA team. And like Rachel said, we're happy to all kind of get back to you.
I just saw a question pop up about an irate someone not wearing a mask.
Let's end on that note. Yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to take that one.
I think you have to stick true to your policy. I'm sorry. If that's one customer that you lose for the safety of everyone else, then fine. I have had people upset. We can't help you. Sorry. Right. This is, I feel strongly about protecting everyone else. And so I'm enforcing masks. I think you have to be honest and to the point and stick to what you are. And if you lose a customer, you'll gain 10 more for doing
Absolutely. That. 100% agree with that.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Victoria, Rachel, Courtney, Shivna. I hope everybody was able to get something out of today's session. And it looks like we don't have any more questions, but if you do think of something at some point, feel free to message us and we will get an answer to you. Thank you all for joining today. Feel free to check out the TRA Marketplace schedule. We have a jam-packed day today and for the rest of this week. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.
Thank you guys. This is fun.
Bye.